Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a video for you about this little guy. This is the Koenig Knives Mini Arius. Very interesting little piece, and one that I'm really glad I got a chance to pick up because it's really cool. But first off, before I go any further, I want to thank my Patreon patrons for making the channel possible, as well as making this particular purchase possible. I actually found this guy through a Patreon patron and got it on the secondary market, right? It's a secondarius. And as a result, it is, I mean, it's in great shape. I've been able to carry it a lot, but they made it possible, right? And the Koenig folks are cool. I'm sure they might have sent me one if I asked, but I kind of figured I'd want to keep it, so I just went ahead and saw one and did one. But anyways, thank you very much, Patreon patrons, for that. And there is no disclaimer, although as always, I am doing my best to give a fair and honest sort of review. So what I want to do here is go ahead and jump into a bit of a disassembly. By the way, I am aware that my mat here is incredibly wet. You're going to find out in a little while that I removed some patina from this watch using some citric acid and some, baking soda. And it didn't go so well. I'm just going to go ahead and admit that. You'll find that out later. But nevertheless, actually I should come at it from this side anyways. But nevertheless, I opened my mat up today and realized there was citric acid and goop all over the mat, so went ahead and cleaned that off, but didn't necessarily want to take the time to let it fully dry, and trying to dry out the area within the bestagons here is not necessarily going to be the right vibe. I mean, I can kind of, I guess, but yeah, not straightforward. Anyways, want to take this guy apart. This guy has gotten a bunch of carry, actually. I have carried the heck out of this knife. In that I bought it maybe 6-8 months ago, something like that. And I got it on the secondary market. And I don't believe I've actually taken it apart yet. So this is a knife that has gotten a lot of love already. And I'm very curious to see how much nicer it's going to be once I take it apart here. But yeah, well, there was some Loctite in there, most certainly. Some kind of like a white Loctite, which, fine, whatever. What we're going to see here is, construction-wise, it's actually quite simple. There are the two screws in the back, there's the pivot, and then underneath there is a hidden screw for the clip. That's really it. Okay, yeah, we got some gumption going on here, so it's going to probably get better. Nice. All right, so we're going to go ahead and clean this guy off with some rubbing alcohol. And just some, I believe, 90% isopropyl alcohol. Although, given the humidity at the moment, 90 is maybe ambitious. But nonetheless, we're going ahead and cleaning this blade up here. As I said, this guy has gotten a substantial amount of pocket time from me just because it's been a knife that's been on my table for review, and because I really like carrying it. It is just a really good daily carry knife, which is sort of what you would hope out of a very expensive daily carry knife, but yeah, nonetheless. So, you're seeing tape gunk on it, you're seeing all kinds of things like that. Yeah, it's gotten some love, even from me. And so that's been nice. Okay, let's go ahead and clear out the, clean out, that is, the bearing races here. They appear to be a steel bearing race, which is not... Is that, or is that just the titanium polished up? It's hard to tell. That's... I am not sure. Let me see if I can get up under that. It may just be that they've polished the heck out of the titanium right there. Yeah, it looks like they just really polished it. Okay. It's actually a pretty impressive polish. I'm sure that I'll get a correction in the comments from Bill or the Koenig folks if I threw the freaking washer across the room. But nonetheless, if I have made a mistake there, but it does look like they actually just polished up the tie, which, again, like I said, not unimpressive. And then we see here a ceramic ball bearing, a lock bar insert. Not critical, but certainly enjoyable. Certainly a nice thing to have. Go ahead and clean that off, just using a Q-tip here. By the way, if you're curious about any of the tools I use for this or any other disassembly, nickshabazz.com/tools has a full list. And, yeah, now I just got to clean off the bearings here, and then we should be good to go. The lubrication that's in here is either degraded or earwax. I'm not sure which. But either way, I expect then that the action's going to get a little bit better once I put this guy all the way back together, because even just on the pivot, it almost has a stiction to it that I'm not a huge fan of. So it could actually be that some of the lack of drop shuttiness that I attributed to the design of the knife is actually just just the nature of the lubricity that was used. One thing we're going to see here is a non-free spinning pivot. There's a bit of a D shape to the pivot itself, so I'll make sure to align that properly before I stick that in there. I'm going to go ahead and use some regular weight knife pivot lube, but you can use some nano oil or any other damn thing. But except earwax, that's a bad idea. But I'm just going to go on ahead and put some of that down there, and then just rotate those bearings and let that work its way in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop on the blade, and I'm going to put a little bit of lubrication in the detent ball path as well as in the side there. There we go. Now what we're going to go ahead and do is drop that on there. Beautiful. Now I'll go ahead and put some lubrication down onto the blade itself. Oh, come on. Freaking playing horseshoes over here with the blade. Got a ringer. Or the bearing, that is. I don't think anyone plays horseshoes anymore. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. Good game, though. All right. So we're going to go on ahead. If you don't know what that is, ask your cowboy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just clean up this pivot screw real quick, just because there was some thread locker on there, and I want to make sure that I'm replacing whatever was on there. Maybe there wasn't a lot, but it sure... No, there's some white stuff in there. It just stayed on the threads inside. All right, so I'm going to go on ahead and use some blue Loctite on a stick here, and I'll stick the pivot screw in. I'm doing this very gently because it's a really fine pitch thread screw. So I just want to make sure I'm not accidentally cross-threading it or something like that. That fine pitch is nice for adjustability, but a little bit less than ideal in terms of, well, you just need to be a little more careful putting it back together. It's not like, oh my God, terrible. It's just a fact of life. All right, and let's go ahead. A little bit more on there. Beautiful. It's kind of hard to tell with a blue screw what you're putting on there with a blue compound, but whatever. Okay, where we at? We're not far off. Oh, no, it is loose, because the way I can tell that is that the pivot wants to pop itself out on the other side there. So, okay, I brought it to hand tight here. Oh. Okay, that's better. I think I can loosen it up just a touch, though. And I bet... Okay, that's good. That's real freaking good. That's... Oh, boy. I didn't think the action was going to get sweeter, but it sure did. Turns out that earwax is not the proper reassembly fluid for your Koenig Arius here, or at least the mini one. Probably not for the big one either. All right, so that leads to a bigger question, which is, A, why is my mat wet? Ah, great. I shouldn't do chemistry on my review table, but here we are. By the way, that solution didn't work. But you'll find out more about that later. So, this knife, now that we've got it reassembled and everything, what are my thoughts? First off, just to let you know, this is listed on Koenig's website is $650. I think that's out of date, though, because if I'm looking on other retailers, I'm seeing them anywhere between $700 and $800, depending on the versions of it, right? Because they have a couple of variants with, different, engraved patterns and things like that. But, so we're looking someplace in the probably $650 to $800 range there. And they have a couple of different, aesthetic variants. There are also a couple of non-flippers out there, but where this part is deleted. But honestly, yeah, it's mostly just different color variations for the pivot, the backspacer, etc. Really, really a nice thing. And I've been carrying this guy for a while, and honestly, I've been really impressed. I mean, on the good side of this guy, Start with Koenig Knives. Look, Bill Koenig's a solid dude. Every time I've chatted with him, a really solid, kind, right? And, he runs a small business up there in, I believe, Idaho. Right. And so for me, of course, quality is about effort, not geography, but I do like supporting the home team. Right. And if I can be supporting Bill and Krista and them folks up there at Koenig, that's kind of a beautiful thing. And so, for me, that's on the good side. Blade on this guy is very nice. It is an M390 blade. You can actually see that right here. It's hidden when the knife is open, but you can see it in the middle there, which is a nice little touch. It's got a nice little swedge on the top over here, which is a beautiful thing. The grind on this guy appears to be hollow. It could just be the light fooling me, but I'm pretty sure this is a hollow grind on this. Regardless, it comes down to a nice thin edge. This is a very, very nice cutting knife. That is an absolutely beautiful thing. Next thing, the ergos on this guy are very nice. It has good rounding. It feels very nice in the hand, right? The clip is well designed. The clip itself has a little bit of contour to it, which I appreciate a lot. It's a very good design, and just like the full-size Arius before, it feels pretty good in the hand. Actually, I like this one a little bit better, but I got smaller hands, so be it. The action on this guy is great. Initially, I have dialed in my notes, but turns out when you take the earwax out, it goes up to great. This has a great action. It is absolutely a reliable opener, and it appears to just drop shut now, which is a lovely thing. The action on this guy is super reliable, and it works pretty well also using the little groove here for the flick. So a non-flipper version of this could be fun too. Although actually I haven't minded the flipper tab on here, and it's a little tiny bit pocket pecky, pecking on whatever's in your pocket all day, but it's not the end of the world. It's a really solid action, easy to deploy, happy freaking knife. It's great. Size of this guy for me is absolutely great. If we throw it up here, we do a quick measurement, we're going to see this comes in under 3 inches, which is a beautiful thing, at least for many people. That's often enough knife. And it is a little bit on the... I'm sorry, I should do a size comparison. Here it is against your Spyderco Delica, your Ontario Rat number 2, and of course your Spyderco PM2. Unfortunately, I don't have a full-size Arius, partly because the full-size Arius was, for me, a little too big. Honestly, I didn't care for the size of it. It was a great knife. It was, a damn near perfect knife in terms of machining and things like that. But it just didn't ever really fit my carry needs. It just felt too big. And this feels like the Arius at the proper size. At least to me, that's amazing. And it doesn't have such the feeling of being a big old chubby bunny that the original one had. So I'm pretty happy about that. Next thing on this guy, the machining here is great. Right, there are tons and tons of little details where you look carefully. Right, the pivot D shape, okay, yeah, that's kind of small potatoes, but still, really nice clean edge on this pivot here, dropping down in. I don't believe this is hardware from, at least I haven't seen this hardware anywhere else. That's kind of a beautiful thing. Right, all of the edges here are chamfered very, very, very nicely, right? Every bit of this geometry is a little bit complex, and I really do appreciate that. The surface finishes are nice. This one, again, has gotten a fair amount of carry, and I think it got a fair amount of carry before me. So, yeah, it's gotten a fair amount of carry. We can see here that the backspacer here has a lot of details that don't need to be there, right? There are a bunch of chamfers, well, okay, don't need to be there. At this price, they kind of do, but still, there are lots of little chamfers on the insides of the backspacers there that you can see, right? This is something where you can tell somebody spent a while just staring at this backspacer and making it better. If we look on the inside of the backspacer, I'm going to try and show this off with a little bit of light here, but on the inside of the backspace, you can see that the gap kind of opens up there at the bottom, but it doesn't open up at the top, which means that they have made chamfers on the inside of that, which I imagine that you try and let dust through and keep things out of the way. It's a lovely, lovely little set of details here. The hardware itself looks really good. The clip looks great, feels great. The inside of this little groove is cut in a precision sort of line pattern, which I really appreciate. The inside of the lockbar cutout is beautifully done. All kinds of chamfers, edges. The jimping on this guy is right where you need it. Right, they've done a really nice job of putting in the jimping required to make this feel good. This is, the Arius is a great design, right? And this instantiation of it is really, really good. Look at the name of the company, right? Koenig is engraved right there on the blade. Not so shocking. The steel here label, look, steel labels on blades aren't anything new. Engraving the steel label, rather than using a laser or something like that, they've machined it in. That is actually different. That is kind of new. That is a flex, right? This entire thing. Oh, one other little, okay, this one kind of blew me away. It's got a swedge on the blade, right? The swedge is hollow ground. These jackasses hollow ground the swedge. What a flex is that, right? This is a knife that is really, really impressive for somebody who loves machining, right? Who loves CNC machining. You look at this guy, the chamfers here, you look at this knife, and if you have no idea what CNC machining is, you have no, appreciation of those things, it might feel a little bit plain. When you dial in and you look at the details, you're just like, damn, Bill, you guys put in a bunch of thought to this. Like, well freaking done. This is great. Oh, holy crap, I just realized that the M390 label is perfectly aligned with the lock bar in this position. Okay, see, this is the kind of thing you start seeing, right? And you got a lock bar insert, and you got beautiful bearing. This is just great. And then honestly, on the good side, it's kind of boringly perfect. What I mean, like, to say by that is, like, reviewing this has been actually kind of hard, because I've just been like, yeah, it's pretty much perfect. Like, it's really, really good. I'm struggling to say anything other than like, yeah, good job. It's amazing, right? And in that sense, it is sort of reached that level for me as a tool where it's just like I put it in my pocket and I have a really perfect knife. It's not necessarily the perfect knife, but it is a perfect knife. And I think that's really, really impressive. And it's not something I say about a lot of knives, right? They have thought this through in extreme degree, right? On the bad side, there are a couple of things, but like availability is a little tricky, right? You have to go, either at the moment, the only place I can find them is through third-party retailers, which is fine, but you can actually buy some mini Ariuses at the moment, so I guess that's okay. It is expensive, but it's also made in the USA by a family business in a small shop up in Idaho, so I don't feel too bad about it, but it is pretty pricey, right? That is definitely a thing. It is not a particularly lightweight knife. We're looking at just under 3 inches of blade, and we're looking at a bit over 3.3 ounces. That's not terrible, but it is a little bit heavier than some of the ultralight stuff that's running around these days. And it is a little bit on the thicker side, right? This is closer to PM2 thick than it is to Delica thick, even though it is Delica size. And so that is sort of a bit of a downside. And then I guess the other thing I'll throw out there is, like, this is a knife where you kind of have to be into the machining element to really appreciate it, right? If I compare this guy to, here we go. Here's another one of the best makers in the world. This right here is the Herman Knives. Is the Mantis, right? This is a knife where if I put this down on the table with a normie, right, a person who reasonably doesn't think much about pocket knives and doesn't have that kind of high-end CNC machining fetish that some of us do, they're going to go like, whoa, that's super impressive, holy crap, because it's got Damascus, Timascus, it's got all kinds of really fancy machining tricks, it's got screws, it's got all, whereas this guy might run the risk of feeling super boring, right? And I don't know that that's inherently a bad thing. It's just sort of a very just the facts, ma'am sort of knife, right? And there are nice touches. There are the bits of blue. But at the same time, it just has a very subdued sort of personality. And for some people, if you're going to be splashing out $600, $700, $800, you're going to want something splashier than this. For me, I appreciate the machining enough to know that this is actually a big flex, but it is. Yeah, it's just a little bit different, right? And so I guess that's what I can say about it that's bad, is that, you got to really be into the machining to appreciate it. Unless you're looking close, it may not jump off the page at you so hard. Not particularly light, a little thick. It's expensive, and the availability isn't great, but that's honestly... This is a great knife. This is just a really great knife. Like, when I picked this guy up, like, the first Arius was a catch and release. It was a great knife, loved it. But I realized, like, yeah, I would keep this if I could keep every knife, like, just storage-wise. But at the same time, it was just a little bit too pricey and just a little bit too big for it to stick around because, I just wasn't carrying it much. This guy is sticking around, right? Like, I thought to myself very briefly this afternoon as I was getting ready to film this, I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll sell it. And then like 2 seconds later, like, no, it's going in the case, right? Well, in the safe, as the case may be. But nonetheless, it's absolutely this is a knife that I've loved carrying and will continue to carry, right? And especially at the price I got it for used. Oh, yeah, right? I am a big, big, big fan of this. As I said, this is not the perfect knife. I don't know that that exists, but it is a perfect knife. I am really, really impressed. And especially given that the full-size Arius was a great knife, and then minifying it, translating it down, is not a straightforward task. Lots of people have made great knives that are larger kind of crappy when they shrink them down, or vice versa, right? Designing a knife and designing the same knife smaller are not the same tasks, right? And I'm actually very impressed that they were able to do this as well as they did. This feels to me like the best Arius I've ever handled, right? But then again, that's my own bias with the small hands and the preference for smaller knives. So on the whole, I love this knife. This is great. This is just a really freaking good knife. And it's one that I'm very, very happy to have in my collection because I can appreciate the machining. I can appreciate the sort of the weird poetry in it. And it kind of cements the fact that I have always kind of said, if not on the channel, just to random people, that, like, of the best makers on the planet, Koenig is there, right? They are in those high echelons, right? The Grimsmos, the Koenigs, Shiro, Herman, I would argue, is there, the Holtz. There were a bunch of Brian the Doe when he's doing his custom stuff, right? Like, there are a bunch of really, really good, and by the way, I'm kind of excluding the handmade custom, Michael Walker sort of thing, so don't at me for that. But in terms of production knife makers, there is sort of that top of the class, and Bill, with a knife like this, shows me that he belongs there, right? And the whole team over there. So this is just a nice reminder that every time I've said, dude, Koenig is not messing around. Yeah, no, not. But the most important part of this, honestly, the thing that is most heartening to me, is to see a variation of the Arius, right? Like, for a long time, they had little tiny variations, but this is a whole new kind of thing. And that allows us to think about whole new versions of the Arius that we could see in the future. Right, we could see a very basic, stripped-down budget version, the Rudimentarius, right? We could see one that's meant for people born in November through December, right? The Sagittarius. We could see one with a marlin spike and a thinner blade for sushi, the Pescatarius. One that's really expensive and fits on a Picatinny rail, the Mercenarius. We could see one for opening envelopes, the Epistolarius. One for people who love singing, dancing, and making a scene, the Gregarious. One with a memo recorder, the Secretarius. We could see one that works equally well for all and favors the greatest good. That would be the Utilitarius. One that cannot destroy the Soul Stone of Baal, Lord of Destruction, the Marius. One that is for groups of people who dislike withdrawing state recognition of established churches, the Anti-Disestablishmentarius. One with a cheese knife and a cow print pattern, the Darius. And then, given how easy it would be to make one with Magna Cut and making the knife effectively rust-proof, I really do hope that this is the dawning of the age of the Aquarius. But anyways, it's nice to see different versions of it. So anyways, all that said, Koenig, nice, good job. I freaking love this knife. And everybody else, it's a lot of money. You can get a lot of knife for that same money. But if you really like machining, and you really, really like, well, frankly, just EDC excellence, oh boy, this is a really nice piece. So anyways, there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now. I hope you found that little bit in the middle there hilarious. Okay. Bye now.